Even though at time of recording it's only been live for 15 hours, I've been asked, I think about a half a dozen times already, if I have watched MKBHD's smartphone awards. So I thought that it might be fun to jump to the foldable phone section of his award show. Of course, I will drop a link in the description down below if you want to watch the whole thing. You can. Not that Marques needs my promotion, but I will drop it down there. Anyway, just to be fair. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump to that foldable section and we're going to watch it and I'm going to kind of react to it in real time. I don't normally do a lot of like reaction content, but there's not a whole lot of news going on. So this might be like just a fun way to start some conversation and to kind of give my thoughts on, on their thoughts, I guess. So let's go ahead and let's do that. We'll switch to this view so it's a little bit cleaner. And let's see what Marques has to say about what the best foldable phone of the year 2023 was.
But that actually brings us to our first new category ad in a long time in the Smartphone Awards, and that is Best Foldable Phone. So this is the first.
So that's interesting. So I guess they didn't have a best foldable phone category before, and I would imagine that was probably due to the fact that in prior years it was just the Z Fold, and then I guess maybe they include the Z Flip that is a foldable phone, but now we have the Z Fold, and we have the OnePlus Open, and we have the Pixel Fold. So now maybe now it's actually worth having a category for. Now I know some people are gonna say, Shane, there are foldable phones in other markets, but we're talking about in the United States. These are the phones that you can go online or go to a local store and purchase, and it is delivered to your home or you walk out to your car with that phone. So that's just kind of interesting to me that we finally have enough phones for a category.
Time genuinely separating out and considering all of the folding phones that came out during the year. And the reason it's getting its own category this year is because there's genuinely a large variety of shapes and sizes and versions of foldable phones and flippable phones that we could choose from. So I think in general, and I made a video talking about this already, but folding phones aren't quite on the doorstep yet. Like they're close, but they're still mostly thicker and more expensive than normal phones. But I do want to reward the ones that are pushing the boundaries in some way.
I think we can all kind of predict where he's going, right? He's talking about foldable phones are not quite there yet. They're thicker. They're more expensive than regular phones. Well, I'm just going to make a prediction here that he's going to give his award to the OnePlus Open because, it's not that much thicker than a normal phone. It's not that much heavier than a normal phone. And when you're talking about the top of the line flagships, it's not that much more expensive than those phones. So I think that he is sort of tipping his hand to us a little bit here as we go through this portion.
Towards that revolution. So, winner for best foldable phone in 2023. Yeah, that's the OnePlus Open. Man, this phone is good. When I was thinking about what I would personally daily drive from the folding phones bunch, this is the one that bubbled to the top. This is the folding phone I would be most likely to use. When it's closed, it feels the most like a normal phone, mostly because the aspect ratio and the size of the screen is normal phone-ish, flat sides. But then you open it up, and it's a nearly 8-inch.
Something else I want to quickly mention before we go any further is that it is a pretty normal phone, right? And if you were to just be using this in front of somebody, unlike a lot of other foldables, there's not a whole lot about the front of the device that gives it away. You could say this is, this is rounded and this is less rounded. But like a lot of other foldables, like the Pixel Fold, you can immediately tell that something is weird, right? Because you've got more space over here. It's flat, it's less, you can tell that it's something's going on. With the OnePlus Open, unless they kind of do this, you can maybe then tell wait a minute, that's two halves of something together. But if you're here, you might, show somebody something and they might not have any idea that this thing actually opens up into a full tablet, which is kind of cool.
Almost perfectly square folding screen with a very minimal crease, awesome specs, really good software, and a lot of fun features to back it up. I think my favorite part is just the way you can move around multiple windows and keep them full size and have them overlap sort of the edge of the screen. It's a fun and unique, actually new way of multitasking on a phone, and it actually works.
I love that he actually did the is it three finger or four finger? The pinch to zoom out. This is something I hear from people all the time. They say, yes, you can have 3 apps open and they're full screen or whatever you want to do. But with the Z Fold, they're all on the screen at once. Well, let me just tell you, you can zoom out. And what you have is all these apps on the screen at once. Again, of course, with the Z Fold, with 3 apps open, you have 1 big app and then 2 little square apps. With this zoomed out, you have 3 apps that are all the same size, and all of them are in between those 2 sizes, right? So instead of having 1 app taking up 1/2 of the screen and then 2 little quarter size apps, you get 3 apps that are, what would you say, like not a quarter size. They're a little bit bigger than that. They're kind of in between those 2 sizes. So that might be a good fit for some situations and for some people.
This was the best phone with a folding screen that was released during 2023. No doubt about that. But I also want to give an honorable mention here. I'm going to actually say it's the runner-up in this category of best foldable to the Pixel Fold. And that's just because this one specifically is my favorite foldable to use closed.
Are we actually getting a mainstream huge YouTuber giving some love to the Pixel Fold, actually picking it over the Z Fold 5? This is kind of shocking to me because I am so used to big YouTubers not only not giving the Pixel Fold its flowers, but actually giving it their Bust of the Year award, which is what Mr. Who's the Boss did. I actually know some other YouTubers personally who gave it basically a Bust of the Year type award, which I unequivocally do not understand at all. I was going to say I don't agree with. It's their opinion. They can call it whatever they want, but I do not understand the logic behind it at all. So this is actually really cool to see Marques actually appreciating the Pixel Fold, seemingly for one of the biggest reasons I appreciate the Pixel Fold, because of the cover display. The aspect ratio of this cover display is really, really good.
Because the outside screen is so good. The outside screen is nice and compact. It's the most reachable. It's the smallest also, but it's wide, it's big, it's super useful to use closed, and for whatever reason, I love that about it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that I opened it way less, but it's the best to use closed. And I'm gonna give an honor.
That's another interesting thing I hear a lot is like, well, the cover display is so good, I never open it. Why did I buy a foldable? Well, because you can open it, right? Like this is the whole shtick for me, and I maybe we'll come back to this. I think that he may have something else to say at the end of this, but this is my thing. This is, and so is this. They are 2 devices. They are 2 discrete devices, 2 distinct devices. There are tasks and things I'm going to do where this is the display that I want to be using. This is the display that makes the most sense. Maybe I'm just quickly, returning a text message or something like that, and I just want to be able to type something in, or maybe I'm taking a photo, or maybe whatever it might be, where the cover display makes the most sense. And then there are other tasks where the inner display is the one that makes the most sense. So that I open that up, I have another device. You are never in a situation with this phone in your pocket or this phone in your pocket where you think to yourself, man, I wish I had a bigger screen. I wish I had a tablet with me, because you do. I do not conceptualize these phones as one phone that can transform. I more think of them as having a device that can turn into a different device, because this is, for all intents and purposes, a different device that just happens to be coherent with my other device. It carries everything over. It carries all my logins, but it's like I've got a tablet, a really good tablet with me at all times. So yeah, if you're using this screen the most, well, maybe you're just in a situation or you're in a mindset where this screen makes the most sense, but that doesn't mean that you don't have this screen when it makes the most sense. Don't judge how much you're using each screen. Just be happy that you have them both when you need them. They are both readily available to you. Now, it is interesting that some people claim that between these 2, that they maybe had a Z Fold before and they did not use the cover display much, but on the Pixel Fold, they use it a ton. Or even people that have said that they use the Pixel Fold cover display more than they use the OnePlus Open cover display. Personally, I think what this is telling us, and we need to listen to our inner dialogue in this regard, is that phone screens that are skinny and tall, and yes, I do mean the OnePlus Open as well, because even though it's like other phones, it is still skinny and tall. It's not as skinny and as tall. It's as tall. It's not as narrow as the Z Fold screen, but it is still a very narrow, very tall screen, and I just don't think this is all that useful. And I think that the fact that time and time and time and time and time again, we hear from people that use this phone that go, I really love using this cover display. There's something about it I just like. I think what our brains are trying to communicate to us is that screens in general are just too tall, and that when we convince ourselves to try a phone that is less too tall, we go, I can't decide what it is about this that I really like. It's clear what it is you like about it. It's that it's reachable. It's that it's not ridiculously tall like every other screen. Now, this is not speaking for everyone. If you're in the comments banging away on your keyboard saying, I love my Z Fold OnePlus Open Screen, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. We're all allowed to have our own preferences. But it's just funny to me that I keep getting this comment for the last 6 months. I use my Pixel Fold cover display all the time. There's something about it that I gravitate towards. What might that be? Well, I think we all know what that answer is. Let's go back and let's make sure that there's nothing else he needs to say here.
Honorable mention as well to Samsung's Z Flip 5. I mentioned it earlier in this video, but a couple things about this. One is it feels like it's leading the pack for the flipping phones. I think it's better than the Razr. I think it's better than some of the other flipping ones. But also, as far as build quality and just quality control, Samsung in general is at the top of the heap. Basically, every other folding phone has had some level of quality control issues at some point and some rate, and Samsung, ironically the ones that had the biggest issues at the beginning, have ironed it out the most over time. So that's their reward for jumping in early.
I think that's fair. There are still some QC issues with Samsung devices, but I think that's probably accurate, that they've probably ironed out the most of it. They've had the most iterations, so I've got no issue with that. Honestly, I haven't watched this entire video. I have watched Mr. Who's the Boss's awards, and I don't know, they don't do a whole lot for me. But I think at least for this foldable section, I think everything he said was quite reasonable. So there you go, guys. Like I said, you can watch the whole thing in the link down below. Hopefully this was enjoyable, seeing me react and give my thoughts to Marquez's thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe before you go so you get more content like this in your subscription inbox. I'll see you on the next one, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.